Thanks again for joining me. My name is Mike Bisaccio. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications with Cabels, and we're really excited to have this to show you today. Thanks for taking the time to join us. So this session is, we have mostly subscribers who've registered, it looks like, but we have some those who have not yet subscribed, which is great. All are welcome. So I'll kind of, explain a lot of things from the top, and just to kind of make sure we have all questions answered, things like that. I'll try not to get too into details or anything. So we'll start at the beginning. What we have now, this is our current Journalytics Academic and Predatory Reports platform. This is a great platform. We have all the information you need. What we like to say is we're kind of a one-stop shop for journal information, evaluations, publication decisions. Like I said, we have great information here, and it's displayed, we think in a nice, organized manner, but we saw some room for improvement. So when we were developing our newly launched medicine product, which is right here, we knew this was the way we wanted to go with academics. So we're really happy to be making these adjustments. This is our medicine platform. This is our current academic platform. This will still be live, of course, for all subscribers until the new version is launched. We're thinking September, October. So yeah, again, this is still a great platform. All the information you would need. We think we've just made it a little bit more robust and dynamic. So we'll take a look. Occasionally, I'll jump back to this platform, maybe also to the medicine platform, just to kind of show examples, things we're looking at. But for the most part, we'll focus here. And I'll kind of take it from the top, and I'll just go over a little bit of everything that we're seeing, and we'll look at some of the new features we have, all great stuff. And again, feel free to stop me anywhere along the way. So this is the first thing you might notice that's a bit different. This is what we call our guided search page. So we have a little bit of everything here. To start at the top, this is our new, again, Journalytics Academic Platform. We have some links. Search will just take you back to this page, our process. One thing I should mention is this platform is under development. There are still features to come. There are still improvements being made. This is not live yet. We're kind of getting a little behind the scenes look, just to kind of give everybody a little sneak peek and prepare you for, again, what will be live September, October, around there. We'll obviously stay in communication, make sure everybody knows we'll likely have another session like this next week. We're also having tutorial sessions for subscribers, mainly on our existing products, both the academic and medicine products, but we'll also have a look at this redesigned platform there as well, just to kind of give everyone a look. So there's plenty of chances to see this, but I'm glad we have this today. So pretty standard search box, some filters that will become active once we jump into the platform. Here we have some shortcuts. I'll touch on everything briefly. We'll go over these a little bit more closer detail as we move forward. Here we have direct links to the verified Journalytics list. We have a link to directly to the predatory reports database, links directly to our scite metric, Altmetric, and a new initiative we're working on, which we're really excited about, in partnership with St. Joseph's University. We are measuring journals for their focus on sustainable development goals, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. I'll touch on this very briefly in a bit as well. And here we have shortcuts directly to our disciplines. They would work similar to our discipline filter. But this is, our guided search, and like we like to call it, our kind of a shortcut. If you, kind of know the discipline or maybe the metric you want to focus on right away, you can click and head directly to discipline. As we can see, I clicked astronomy, and all I've done really is enact the astronomy filter, which I can easily clear. We'll go back to the search page right now. There are a few things I want to point out. The biggest change I think we've made, one we're really excited about, is the platform is now fully integrated. Journalytics is fully integrated with predatory reports. That is, we've done this really for a few reasons. The biggest thing, our main goal, our main focus is to make sure the journals we have evaluated are discoverable. and we're giving our subscribers the full protection of both our verified list and our predatory journals. We want to make sure no stone is unturned. We want everybody to be confident that every search they're performing, they're seeing both the verified and publishing opportunities and the publishing risks. Another reason for this, not every journal that we review is included in either Journalytics or predatory reports. It's not like if a journal is not listed in Journalytics, it's automatically included in predatory reports and vice versa. So, and this will make a little bit more sense as we get into things. So we'll move forward. So these are pretty self-explanatory, these shortcuts, and we'll kind of touch on them as we move forward. If we wanted to jump directly to the verified list, well, if we wanted to go to all journals, we can click here. Now we're searching all journals. If we want to look at just Journalytics, of course, we can click Journalytics. If we want to look at just predatory reports, we can do that. All searches we perform in this search box will access or consult, if you will, both databases. So, for instance, if I ran a few searches, I'm always kind of playing with some things to see if I want to search cell transplantation. This is a good indication right here of what we're looking at. So now I have the full picture. These are legitimate journals, journal summaries right here, and these are predatory listings. Very easily distinguishable, predatory badge, different heat maps. And again, there's a lot going on here. And we will look at this a bit closer now. I just kind of wanted to show the biggest change I think everybody will see, and it really doesn't change anything for the user, just except they can rest assured that they're really getting the full picture of everything. So that's one big change I just kind of wanted to point out. We'll jump back to our main list. So really, that's where we want to go here. I mentioned earlier, we can jump right to a few metrics. If we wanted to, jump right to our attention grabbers, these are our Altmetric report journals, and we can see here, they're now sorted by the Altmetric score. So just a few different ways kind of to shortcut. If you're interested in the SDG II, very briefly, what this is a pilot program we have going on with St. Joseph University. And I apologize for flying ahead, but I feel every look we get at this is helpful. So here we have our tabs with our different metrics, and if I were to click on the SDG II, what we're measuring here is how focused this publication is on promoting research that addresses the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We rank these with 1 to 5 wheels. We note the goals, the journal addresses. We're happy to share information on this. This is really a passion of ours. We go to conferences and speak on this, and we're really trying to promote awareness of research and connecting researchers and practitioners with just sustainable focused research. So that's just a little bit of what the SDG II is. So let's jump right into our list. You know what? We'll go back to our cell transplantation search. And if you performing kind of a keyword search or a key phrase in this case, you can just go right here. As we can see, there is a journal titled Cell Transplantation, and this is interesting. So, well, first, let's take a look at the journal card. We'll see some things right away. We have some differences from our existing journal cards, what we have here. So I think it's useful to go over some things. We, of course, list the publisher, title of journal, publication frequency, its model of open access. This heat map is basically replacing our visuals for the CCI, which we have here. Our CCI is our Cabell's classification index. We are no longer, let's kind of make it a bit more, bit more context to what this is measuring. We, really refer to this as the discipline score. What we're measuring here is discipline strength. And by that, we mean the citation activity this publication sees within each discipline in which it publishes. I was looking to see if we had a few multidisciplinary, but we'll get a closer look at that as well. And we see we have historical data for this. If we hover over this, we'll see the disciplines it's in. We'll get a closer look at all of this. Here we have a snapshot of our scite metric, which scite uses smart citations to measure basically the context of a journal's citations, whether citations to a journal's work tend to support the work, dispute it, or just mention it. Again, we'll get a closer look at this. This is our Altmetric report score. What Altmetric does is they measure attention that journals articles are getting basically in outside of traditional research circles, I guess is the best way to say it. And we'll get again a closer look at that. If you want to see more about a journal, you can click on the summary anywhere and it'll expand the card. Again, similar to what we see now, we just have a lot more information and a little bit more dynamic presentation. So again, what we're seeing is you know, we have all this data currently. We do get a little bit deeper in some of it, which we'll see. So we've clicked to expand this card, and we have our tabs displayed here. Under the dashboard tab, kind of have a little bit more general information. We're kind of trying to, you know, each step of the way, we get a little bit deeper into a journal. So here we have a snapshot again of our metrics in the open access and the discipline. Again, this is digging a little bit deeper into our discipline score, the highest discipline. Now, one thing to note here is this journal publishes within medicine and academics. So this biomedicine discipline would be within our medicine database right here. That's why we may see some again, these are things that will probably be worked out in development. We're kind of having an early look at things. This is a look at our CC. And again, we're measuring citation activity for this publication against others within each discipline, and we will look at that closer. A little bit on open access, closer look at at the scite index and Altmetric scores. Here we have some publisher's note. This section here is important, the publisher's notes. This is consulted during keyword searches. So if something is not in the, you know, the title or discipline, we also consult this. Now we're constantly working with our search logic to kind of dial in. Right now we have it dialed into the title level. And again, we'll look at this search a little bit closer in a moment as well. ISSNs, contacts, we also have these contacts elsewhere. Really any information you need, we like to have right on this front page in terms of contacts, emails, things like that. If we want to look at closer, we can go down the line. So in disciplines, this publication within biological sciences, what this 52% means is this journal sees more citation activity than 52% of journals also publishing within biological sciences. That's what I like about this metric. It's a discipline-specific metric. So we're you know, allowing really for an apples to apples comparison. We're comparing this journal to other journals also publishing within biological sciences. And again, this journal is what, again, this is really a measure of the citation activity. We use Scopus citation data to power this, and we have historical data here. There are slight variations. Again, this is something I've kind of mentioned to our development team, perhaps for accessibility purposes, the slight changes. I don't know how much you can notice the slight changes in color signify, you know, a stronger, as we can see here, the trends in citation activity over the years. So this can be really helpful. And again, in our tour today, we'll see some different numbers here, and we'll get a look at how they're, you know, manifested in the heat map. We can also break this down to the topic level within biological sciences. In the topic of cell biology, we have a bit of a drop down. Sometimes you see a tick up, and you see, okay, within each area of cell biology, some journals might be 79%, you know, just a bunch higher. This is a little bit less activity directly in the topic of cell biology, but again, this can also be useful sometimes to find a journal that really will be impactful for specific research. Again, I'm going kind of quickly just to make sure we can get a look at everything. Our smart citation data, this is powered by scite, and to learn a little bit more, we have links to the scite dashboard here. Very quickly, we can learn a little bit more. They have information on retraction, withdrawals, and again, you can of course sign up and dig a little bit deeper. But I think we have some great information here. What scite's basically measuring is, again, the nature of citations. Whether they calculate this data to the journal level, we aggregate it out to the, they calculate this to the article level, we aggregate it out to the journal level. Same with our Altmetric scores. We're looking for a sense of, this really can give a sense of the culture, I guess, surrounding a journal and its work. Being that we're in journalytics, these are all verified, legitimate, safe spots for publication. We typically see cite indexes around 0.9. Those are, we see many more supporting citations than disputing, but by and large, mentions are the largest number. This again, it can be just a good indication of, kind of the culture surrounding a journal. Sometimes, controversial research can maybe throw a curve at some of these numbers. But very briefly, and we have information on how this is determined. And again, within the cite dashboard, we have information on the algorithms they use to calculate this. Moving down the line to our Altmetric data, one thing I would like to point out here is the top 5 article data is not yet available. Very briefly, I thought I had one expanded. If we were to go to a journal, I apologize for going a little quickly. I will try not to do this, but this is what this will look like. I just wanted to show. Again, this is a work in progress at this point. And what Altmetric reports are measuring, and again, there's a little bit more information here on this. Measuring basically the attention, attention a journal is getting outside of what you might call traditional research circles, so online platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Mendeley is a big platform for sharing research. And this really can be an indication of a journal's marketing strength, of just the reach of a journal. In some cases, a researcher just wants to have research that will be noticed a little bit more, and perhaps these platforms are a little bit more serve the purpose of the researcher for whatever reason. What I also like about this metric is there's no need to wait for citation activity. This is more of a real time, as these shares occur on these platforms, we have data. Again, jumping back briefly to the medicine platform, when we have the top 5 articles populated, we will see the top 5 articles from an Altmetric standpoint from this journal. We can click there. Brings us to the Altmetric site, a little bit more information on the journal, demographics. You can link directly to the article. So if you want to go dig even deeper into this, you can do that as well. I think we provide great information here. And again, this will add to that once we have the top 5 article data. What I like about our metrics, I think it's important that we don't get our citation data from any one source. We're using Scopus for our CCI. We have citation data for the Smart Citation and Altmetric for Altmetric reports. So I think that we have a well-rounded sources for our information to really not be reliant on any one source for citation data or journal metrics. That I think is a great thing we offer. Under the Access tab, this is great. This is some new information we have, and it's been really well received so far. We have information when on any open access, APC fees, reuse rights. We have all that information here under the open access tab. In addition, of course, to information on the journal's open access models, some article publication history data. But really, I think it's great that we have this information on the fees and reuse rights right here. And it's, again, important information that we're happy to be able to pull out and provide right here on the front line for everybody. So this is a great tab. And again, much more robust than legacy platform, which is great, but we're pretty much limited to, providing the access type. So we can dig a little bit deeper here. Moving next to our submissions tab. This, and as we can see here, these are sometimes, one thing I wanted to point out, this information is provided to us, and we have a different tier. We have a time to publication for cell stem cell and not for cell transplantation. That's a good indication what we're looking at. So in this section here, this information is provided to us by the journals themselves. We love to have all this information. We have very extensive briefs for each journal to fill out. We request peer review notes. We really dig deep into their process. We would love to have all this information present. We ask for it. Some journals may not track this. They may be unwilling to provide it for whatever reason. But when at all possible, we try to have this information available. And again, for some, just kind of checking in, for some information, for some journals, we have different info. Over the course, again, as we refine and get closer to launch with this platform, I expect we'll have more of this information filled in. As we have a great deal of this on the medicine site, as you can see here. This is an entry from our medicine platform. And this is the kind of information we typically want to and usually do provide. And I think this is really important information, especially with timelines. Same thing with the peer review section. Same with submissions. We get this information from the journals themselves. So, whatever we can get, we want to include here. And also what will be coming down the line are filters. Kind of as we're reviewing, I'm thinking of things. So just clicking here next to the search box kind of displays our filters, similar, meant to go to our legacy platform, similar to here. But as you can see here in this drop down, we have some filters. Time to publication, time to review are two of my favorites, especially if time is of the essence with this publication. Those are coming. As again, we get closer to launch, we will have more features added. I particularly like the time to review, time to publication. Metrics, just data, just because again, they help with timeline. So that's kind of a quick look at the journals themselves. We still have links to the journal's website, which can be really helpful, specifically when dealing with a predatory journal. I think is very helpful for confirmation you're looking at the correct journal. We have that link. Hopefully we have all the information you will need right here. If we want to dig deeper, we can do that. I'll keep moving again. Feel free to stop me if I go too quickly. One thing I'll show with this search is, as we can see, I searched for cell transplantation, which is the title of this journal. It was my first return. Kind of similar to a search engine, we're searching and returning other relevant results. We perform first a title level search. That's where we're seeing the cell here. Transplantation is probably also included in this. I'm not going to find it quickly. It's probably included in these notes. That's why this is ranked. This journal is also ranked so heavily. And one quick way around that, dealing with a journal, a database of this size, I think we're looking at about 30,000 journals all totaled so far. So let's get back to where I was. I have a habit. A lot of journals are similarly titled. We're dealing with a lot of the same keywords. So one way around that, and make sure, one thing I've learned is to make sure if you are using quotation marks, make sure you're keyboarding them and not copying them, say from Word or something. But putting this journal in quotation marks is going to cut down our search results by a lot. Again, I would imagine we have the phrase cell transplantation probably right in this publisher's notes section, which is why we're grabbing this. But using quotation marks for anything, including ISSNs, is going to cut down your search. Now, most times we have a one-to-one match. So if I were to put in this ISSN, I'll probably get a one-to-one match, yes. Sometimes if a journal has the same four, digits at the beginning or end of their ISSN, it might also come up in a search. And a quick way around that is, again, just using the quotation marks to search just this ISSN. And that, I think because I already had the journal out, that's what happened. That's why it was a little bit of a wonky search. So yeah, usually you're just going to get a one-to-one match. Works as you would expect. Let's get a look quickly at our predatory reports card. So we're still, again, this initial page, our initial listing kind of changes. Usually we're jumping to one database or another. I will jump right into the predatory database from here. We can see here it's selected. I can perform, but one thing I'll show, so even if I'm in predatory reports and I perform a search of cell transplantation, it's searching both databases. That's really the biggest indication of the full integration of the databases. You can be anywhere. We want to make sure all searches are just completely comprehensive, leaving nothing. We want our journals that we have listed to be discoverable, especially if they're predatory. We don't want to have a journal listed on the predatory side of things and have it not be discoverable. That would be terrible, obviously. So we're trying to avoid that. Let's look at a predatory reports card before we get sidetracked again. So we can see here, let me close some of these tabs. So with predatory reports, it's pretty basic. They're in our current version. And really, again, the information we need to know, we need to identify the journal to make sure we can avoid publishing in it. That's really the biggest thing we're looking at. But here we have a bit more information. Same thing, really. Again, the primary goal is to avoid publishing in these publications. And that's what the majority of our users are using our database, particularly consulting predatory reports, to see if a journal they've maybe been contacted by or are considering publishing in, to see if we have it listed. And that's great. But we can also go a bit further into things and see what we have, what the publication is up to. It helps us also when evaluating journals that we might not have listed. If you come across a journal that you've been contacted by or are considering publishing in, we may not have reviewed it yet. So kind of taking some of the things we have here and applying them, in the wild, if you will, can help. So first things first, on our card, of course, we want to make it really apparent that we're looking at a predatory journal as opposed to our cell transplantation search has. Okay, so we can see here, there's a big difference. These are verified listings. This is a predatory listing. We have different color, have predatory badge, excuse the plane flying by my window. Publisher, we do not evaluate by publishers. We evaluate individual journals. We, of course, list publisher, helps with identification, things of that nature. So we have the publisher, the title of the journal. This is the date of the initial review. We don't have, as part of our process, to review these journals each year. I think I said we're up to 17,000 journal. Oh, I have my cell transplantation. Let's just, I think the best way to get our numbers is to look here. So within predatory reports, we're up to almost 17,000 journals. So it would be a little bit difficult to review every journal every year. So, I guess we can go to all journals since we were here. We review these journals initially, and then we have an appeals process in place. We have publicly available to all of our journals we have listed. We'd love them to use our tool as a resource to, clean up their act, so to speak. That's not how it's being used, I will say. But that's just what I wanted to point out. The date of the initial review in many cases. So we see here, this publication was initially reviewed January 19, 2017. We likely have been back over this journal and or this publisher since then, in the course of our work. If we, of course, are to see any significant changes, we would reevaluate and perhaps remove from the database. Again, that has not happened yet, but we have hopes. Let's look a little bit more what we have going on here. We can, if we hover over this heat map, we have a little preview of the violations, and might as well look at this in a little bit more in depth right now. So these again are color coded. The yellow indicates minor violations. This is a deep red for severe violations. And okay, this one has all three. This is a little bit more of a mild red, I guess you would call it, for moderate. Again, we're trying to think of ways to, have visualizations for these journals, while also keeping accessibility in mind. So this is something I think we'll play with. We have here a link to the version of the criteria this publication was reviewed in. That was my mistake. I should have right-click. Anyway, this is their criteria that we have. This is great information. I like to point this out. Now, it took us to our medicine site where we have the criteria listed up here under policies. We jumped right to here again. We're in development. This will keep you usually on the academic site. But here we have our criteria that we review predatory publications under. Very briefly, these are weighted based on level of severity. We have severe, moderate, and minor. They're weighted according to level of severity. Once a journal crosses a certain threshold, they're classified as predatory. To get too into the weeds on that. So again, clicking, we can see the nature of the violations and the category within. Within publication practices, we have severe violations. Under peer review, we have moderate violations, access and copyright, and website. We have the discipline of that the journal, we don't format this predatory reports by disciplines, as we can, if we're in predatory reports, we have a lot of our filters not available, and these actually should all be grayed out. You know, we don't have the same data for predatory journals, of course, so we're not you know, looking to learn, you know, about their citation activity and whatnot. But we have the information here, of course, comes into play with keyword searches. Same with ISSN. These, you know, an ISSN does not make a journal legitimate. The ISSN organization is not checking for legitimacy. They really are just checking to see that a journal has published something, period. And if you've published, you can get an ISSN. We include it for identification purposes, of course. Now let's see. Again, sometimes I'm trying to find one that will give us multiple. It's good, I guess we're not. Sometimes sometimes you might enter an ISSN and get multiple searches. It just usually is because it shares either this run or this run of digits, but the exact match will usually be first. So you can search by ISSN. Kind of want to go back to see. Oh, I shouldn't. Oh, okay. I think one thing I want to do is stay kind of, so I don't keep jumping around on our searches. I'll keep us within the cell transplantation, maybe to add, you know, make a little context to what we're doing. If we want to learn more, we can click on this violation tab. So here we have our overview, kind of gives us the categories and the number of violations. Here we can get a little bit better sense. We have within publication practices, we have severe, moderate, and minor violations. If a publication has all minor violations, this would be, you know, maybe no copy editing, maybe some, you know, a bad website, spelling errors, things of that nature. That won't have it included in predatory reports. Those a few minor violations won't bring it up to the level, or bring it down to the level, if you will, of a predatory publication. I mean, they could be could be indications, red flags or something that, you know, further evaluation is warranted. But that's kind of why we include this severity, just to kind of, you know, you can see a little bit of the profile. Some journals are focused on fees, you know, maybe upfront fees. Some journals hide the fees a little bit on the back end. Fees come into play, though, with predatory journals. We also have, you can group these by severity. If you want to see, you know, just let's look at the severe violations up top, and then you can look at the minor back. So we have a few different ways to kind of, and again, this is really great. And what I like to do is you can see the violations we have, then you can visit the journal's website. Now, one thing I should have pointed out was very often with predatory journals, the websites, you know, move, the URL changes, they become no longer functional, as we saw with this one. So we check these often and try to have accurate, you know, up-to-date current links. Again, I like this a lot for identification. You can, this is a great way just to confirm you're looking at the same journal here that contacted you. So and another thing I like to do is you can look at the violations that we have for this journal, and then look at the journal itself and kind of see how they play out in the real world, so to speak. So and this is a great way, again, to kind of use our report as a reference to see what this journal is doing, how it kind of manifests on the website. And then, you know, again, if you come across a journal we don't have listed, this can be very useful for that. So, you know, again, most of the links, now I'll just fly around and click on a few, they kind of go back and forth. Again, with predatory journals, very often their you know, websites just stop working for one reason or another, or they're moved to avoid detection or knows, but by and large they'll work. I'm going to close out of these. We recommend caution, you know, tracking software, malware, various sorts in predatory journals. I suppose with any website it's a bit of a concern. That was kind of really briefly what I wanted to show here. And again, just going back to our, you know, current product. Now we have all this information here, and the information we need still here and great. We just, you know, a little bit more maybe context, a little bit more dynamic presentation, and we try to dig a little bit, you know, dig as deeply as we can. This is yeah, heck of a publication here. In terms of the design of the predatory card, those are really the biggest changes. So that, is that. Now looking a bit more at our searches. So again, this is another big change, and we're really excited about the guided search page. If you, again, happen to know your discipline, you can jump right to it here. And then, as you can see, we've kind of enacted the discipline filter. We can then, if we have a specific access type, we can apply that as well. And I mean, very quickly, we've, narrowed down the universe of journals we're dealing. Oh, I should point this out. If we see no data, these are some good things. Now we'll do some searches. Anything that comes up, we can see these are journals for which we have acceptance rate. If we have it, that will be listed right on the summary as well, right here. I'm not seeing any that we don't, we're missing it. Journals we might see no data. Again, this is a little bit more, we're again trying to work out ways how we might present this information with, kind of the new heat map display for years past. Now, this could be data. There might have been not enough citation activities in years past. Again, it could be a new listing. There are various reasons why we might see no data here. Again, thankfully, we have the data now. It's a bit stark to see so much no data. So this is something, and we'll see various times. And again, it's usually a case of it may not have been enough citation activity. Perhaps it was new. It's a new publication in some of these disciplines. This is a good look at how the discipline influence score, the CCI, can be helpful. So in this publication, again, any journal listed in Journalytics is a legitimate, verified publication with, these scores. I don't like to refer to them as measures of quality per se. This one really is specifically a measure of citation activity rather than quality. In the discipline of educational curriculum and methods, the journal is seeing more citation activity than 70% of journals. It's fairly, heavily cited journal within this discipline. Whereas, again, and this is not really a knock in any way on the journal, but it sees a bit less citation activity within management specifically, or about the 49% mark. So that would mean it sees more citation activity than 49%, or less citation activity than 51%, however you like to look at it. You sometimes can get a little bit more insight. If we look within the topics, you can see a bit more here. So obviously, for this journal, a little bit more activity, a little bit more maybe influential, you could say impactful within educational curriculum over, say, computer science. But again, it could, be a difference maker for, publication decision. Seeing if anything else jumps out to point out really with the new design. Here we have our filters. We can easily clear these here. These filters kind of work. Again, these are in a bit developed. Another thing that is in development, not yet live, is we can see on our current database, if I type in, if I begin to type in a journal, sometimes I have to go slow enough, but if I begin to type in a journal title, if I type in agricultural, we can see here, it'll start to suggest some journals. It's basically a suggested search. And this is something that is coming away, not yet here. And as we can see here, the journal is listed. It suggests journals for us. That yet is not yet active here. It is coming. We have, of course, our hijacked journals. If I were to search here, I know this journal is a hijacked journal. We predatory journal that, in this case, this journal basically hijacked the identity of a legitimate veterinary medicine journal. This journal has nothing to do with veterinary medicine. So we know this is a multidisciplinary, this website's duplicate text here and here. It's a mess, but we know hijacked, and that's kind of, avoided. And this, again, it might come in the form of copying an ISSN. This journal, if you Google this journal's title for a while, this hijacked journal was coming up in Google searches before the legitimate journal. I actually met these publishers at a recent conference, and they issue has since been corrected, but it can really cause a lot of problems. Just to note the hijack. Let's see what else. Let's get rid of this. Go back. Within the search page, again, we have our links, and again, these will be expanded. We're developing some really helpful user guides that are going to kind of give a step-by-step process through all this. I should also mention this session will be recorded. Everyone who registered will receive a link to the recording to share as needed. Also next week, what I'm going to do is put my email address in the chat again. I think if anybody joined late, they may not have seen the chat, and I put it in before if you weren't in this session yet. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Next week, we're having another round of sessions all week, really reviewing, going over our current, database, but we will of course be taking a look at this newly designed database, which again will be live for everyone in September, October. We will obviously stay in contact, make everybody aware of this. We like I said, just wanted to have this session to kind of give everybody a preview, so we're not just kind of throwing it on everyone. Really everything is working the same. Again, the big difference I think is the full integration, and as you can see, it wasn't really a very big difference. Essentially all searches are consulting, so that's the big thing, just to leave no stone unturned. And it's very easy, if you want to look at just legitimate journals, you can click on Journalytics and we'll see just the 525. We should have 100 and something predatory journals under cell transplantation. And within Journalytics, again, we have really all the same great information. We've just built on it and dug a bit deeper into certain areas, so we can provide even more context and information. But again, all the same great info that we have now, we are of course still providing, just building on it a bit. And we're excited. So that's really the main thing that I wanted to review. Are there any questions anybody has? We have a little bit time left. If there are any questions, like I said, we're hosting 8 sessions in total next week. They're going to be smaller sessions. It won't be exclusively looking at the redesign, so we'll be focused mainly on Journalytics. But yeah, we're going to be back and forth plenty. So we'll get another look at this. If any questions come to mind, I think we might have one in the point. Does the database also cover predatory conferences? We do not. It's a great question. We've thought about how we might do this. One, how we might track it, gather the info. We've considered just having a list on our blog, available to readers, because it's a problem, of course, and something we're familiar with. So we do not yet have anything covering predatory conferences, but stay tuned. I hope it does come to pass soon. A lot of times journals we have listed, or organizations, publishers, we see them associated with predatory conferences, and that's about as much as we get into it now. If there is a journal or a publisher attached to a conference, we sometimes have information on that journal or publisher, which can be kind of an alert to that a conference might not be above board. No, we do not yet have conferences, so certainly keep everybody informed on that. I'm just kind of floating around. There's nothing else that's jumping out that we needed to get into. If again, we're also going to have we're always dialing in our search logic. Our search function will be worked on and improved as we go along. Searches work. Again, the title field has been dialed in, if you might say. So really, our title searches, while we're getting multiple returns, the journal that is searched for in a title sense is going to be at or near the top of the list, very likely at the top of the list. But we're always working on our search function. We have more secure login methods. Those are again being developed, and we'll have more information on those as we come closer to launch. We don't, again, we don't. Oh, so the question is, does the database link together predatory publishers? For example, Longdom and Pulsus are all linked. We don't do that. Again, when we don't review specifically by publishers, we of course can search. Omics is a big one, I'm sure. Everybody's familiar, unfortunately. Oh, this is where a case where it would be helpful, perhaps, to put it in quotes. As we can see, we had 1,009 returns. We're going to have probably a large number. Oh, yeah. It's a little, since we're having the omics part here, again, this is a case where this will be dialed in further. Of course, as we develop, as we currently have, this is a little bit easier to search with currently. But as we move forward, we will dial in the publisher search function. So again, we don't review publishers. We review individual journals. We, of course, have the publishers included. Here is search for omics within predatory reports. We have almost 1,000 journals alone from omics. We can do the same for the other publishers. We don't. Now, again, in some of these listings, if I peruse them, you may see that connection that you mentioned through some of these listings. None of them right here are jumping out. That's about as far as we go. Again, we review individual titles, not published. Certainly, it would be strange for us to review an omics title and have it appear legitimate. So we have a pretty good idea. Certainly with omics, I'm sure everybody knows they've a $50 million judgment against them for their predatory activities. So that's really as far as we go. Again, we keep it at a journal level, but we of course provide publisher information. Let's see. Well, if there are no other questions, again, all these features are going to be further refined, and we'll have, again, probably prior to launch, we'll have another look at the database. And let's see. Yeah, really, that's about all. I wanted to, make sure we covered everything without getting too bogged down into details. So this was, again, just a quick look at some exciting changes we have coming. So I think really the integration of the database coupled with some of the deeper data we're now able to provide, and hopefully a more dynamic, contextualized presentation, I think will be really helpful to everybody. Oh yeah, hi, no problem. The expected launch date, we're targeting September, October, likely September, as we're pretty far along. As you can see, we do have some more filters that are coming. And also, in this instance, filters that will be grayed out. We do have some more filters. I mentioned I really like the filters that we have: time to publication, time to review, that we currently have. Those are not yet, have not yet been developed. We have a few more things to go. Our search, with our search and authentication methods. But yeah, we're really full steam ahead and hoping for a launch in September. Yeah, no problem. And again, we'll probably have another look at this next week. Again, if I mentioned, we've been in communication with this. I will, next week, we're hosting 8 sessions, really to review, just kind of make sure subscribers are getting the full, value benefit of our tools here. But we will be jumping back to the redesign again, since it's coming quickly. And everybody, you don't have to do anything. This will be rolled out to subscribers, and again, we'll make it well known when it's coming. But there's nothing anyone will need to do. Same great info, just a better, display and information. So that's where we can wrap it up. Thanks again, everybody. You'll receive a recording of this session later today. And if there are any questions, my email is in the chat. Feel free to reach out with anything. Again, next week, I'll be conducting 8 sessions. We're touching on a little bit of everything, focusing mainly on the existing databases, but we will have a look at this as well. So, you know, you can find those links. Calendly, by all means, reach out to me. I'll send you the link, and hopefully one of the sessions will work for you if you'd like to join. But thanks again, everybody. I will sign off, and hopefully this was helpful. We're excited that these changes are coming, and I think everybody's gonna, you know, find them really beneficial. And again, reach out with any questions. Thanks again, and take care.